folks. Welcome to Education Matters. Today we have a couple parents here that'll let us know how the first few days went at school. This show is being taped on Monday, September 8th. And also tomorrow's election day. Don't forget to vote, but you won't see this till tomorrow, 5:30. But anyway, enough of that. We have Patrice Benard with us today, and we have Victoria Sullivan with us today to let us know how their children are doing in the school system, as well as Founders Academy, because we have Patrice's son who's attending Founders Academy, so that's be interesting to know about. And Victoria's two children.
Yes.
At
Highland
Goss Falls. All right, well, I'm Deborah Olster, so here are our guests. Let's go at it.
Well, I'm going to start off with the Founders Academy. It's the new public charter school here in Manchester that will eventually serve grades 6 through 12. This year they've opened with 100 students, grades 6, 7, and 8. We had a potluck picnic in August where over 80% of our students and their families showed up, and we had a great time. There was food galore. All the teachers were there. Lots of parents were there, and the nice thing was that every child that goes to Founders Academy, their parents care. Their parents are actively involved in their lives, and they cared enough to look around for something better for their children. The public school system, the district schools, they're not a one-size-fits-all school, and every child needs something different. So I think that for those of us who have investigated, some of us chose Founders. So we had a great first week. We had the first day of school. Representative Baldessaro was there for our flag raising, first ever.
Nice.
So that was nice. We all sang the national anthem, and it was great to see all the kids there. There is a dress code. It's a little bit stricter than the district schools, and so some kids are getting used to it. We have school bus transportation. This is the first time my child's ever been on a school bus. Well, daily. He's been on there for field trips, but so now I know why some buses you will see around Manchester only have 1 or 2 students. That's for the private schools or the charter schools, parochial schools. The district is required to bus them. However, it's not going to be a full bus. So I don't know if MTA can do something about getting a smaller size bus, using a van. Of course, it has to be big enough so that my son can bring his trombone on Wednesdays and Fridays. But that was an interesting issue that I found the first week. They're a startup school, so they're looking for donations. So I have a van full of books for the new library. I'm getting donations wherever I can. Anybody has any classics or good school books for grades 6 through 12, I'll come get them. Looking for donations. I'm not looking to spend any money. And, we're sending in, like the public schools do, hand sanitizer, paper towels, antibacterial soap and stuff like that, just like a regular school. But it's been a great first week. The neat thing about Founders, Tuesdays and Thursdays, my son has 45 minutes of reading, silent reading. They are expected to read 20 books on their own every year.
And they give them the time to do it.
And they give them the time to do that. Then he has 2 study halls, not 1, but 2 study halls. The first study hall is in the cafeteria. You have 45 minutes to work on your homework. The second study hall is at the end of the day. And the whole school has this study hall. 45 minutes, and every teacher is available. If you're having trouble in history, go to see the history teacher. Go do your study hall there. So if you're having trouble in science, go to the science teacher's room. So they're really making sure that our students are getting the help they need. They have time to do their homework so that when they do get home at 3:15, it's family time, which is really, really neat. And I know homework has been an issue on the school board, Ask the School Board page this past week. Not at Founders Academy. So I'm really tickled about our first week at Founders. We're just delighted, and he's going to learn French. I don't know. I can't remember all my French. The French teacher posted on Facebook in French. I could read 4 words. Looks like Mom's going back to school.
And how are your children doing, Victoria?
They're doing great. We have a new principal at Highland Goffs Falls Elementary School, Principal Matthews. It's all women in the office for a change, which is new and different for everybody. But the children are adjusting to that very well. She's very kind. I've heard she can be tough when she needs to be, but she's very kind. She's reached out to the families already. We've had our open house, which was very early. It was the second day of school. But I think that was because she wanted everyone to come in to meet her and be a presence there because things had changed a little bit. This year I have to say that the drop-off and pick-up is much easier than last year with the time change. I did like the longer days. We got used to it. I loved not having to make up the snow days because last winter was a bad winter. But with the teacher contracts last year, it didn't allow enough time for the teachers to be in the building. There were the few that chose to be there, even though they weren't contracted to be. But it became very difficult, especially the first day of school, to get everybody in cars all the way down Goss Falls Road. And then picking up, many teachers left. So a lot of volunteers were there to make sure the kids got on the buses. And the first day of school, the principals was running down the parking lot, flagging down buses because kids didn't make it. And this year, we're back to the old schedule, so we have more time in the parking lot. The teachers have a contract that has them in the buildings longer, so we didn't have any of those issues this year. So the first few days of school were much easier and relaxed and organized than they were last year.
That's good.
So, I mean,
Now,
hopefully we don't have to make up the snow days on the other end. But
You were formerly the head of the Highland Goff Falls PTA.
yeah, and I am still on the New Hampshire State Board for
So
PTA.
who's the new president?
It's Stacy Weigler.
Okay. I know Stacy.
And yeah, Stacy. She
Yes,
comes to a lot of the
yes.
meetings.
She's really good about now. Is that something that you've put into your PTA agreement, or that you parents are doing? That you come to school board meetings?
No, we
You-
have a very involved community at
Obviously,
Highland.
yeah.
When we were talking about the standards, the night that people showed up to speak, we had about 9 parents from Highland, and that was the bulk of the people that were there. Many of them didn't speak; they were just there in support. But many of the people that were there were from Highland. So yeah, we have a very involved community at Highland. And we have functions monthly. We have family nights monthly. And we have really good turnout. And, people are just involved. We have a great, strong PTA. And, my children are in 2nd and 4th grade. And they're at very different ages. It's very funny to watch. My 2nd grader has a very caring, nurturing 2nd grade teacher, which is really what I want at that age. I can help him with the academic stuff. He reads above grade level. I'm good. She was the reading specialist at the school, and this is her first full year with a class. Although
wow.
she did cover for a teacher last year for half of the year, so she's excited. The kids are excited. The energy is great, and she's wonderful. And then my 4th grade son, he has a teacher called Mr. Coulon. He's one of the few male teachers in the building, and he's all about the technology. So the first day he came home and said, we did attendance on the iPad. So he has a smart board and an iPad, and instead of the teacher sitting taking attendance, the kids go in, they find their name, they check themselves in, it goes on the smart board. And he's really excited about the fact that he gets to use technology in class.
Mr. Coulon also has a blog or a post that everybody can see,
Yes.
so that everybody can see what's going on in
Yes,
his class.
and there isn't any, I forgot my homework, because Mr. Coulon puts the worksheets on the page, on the website, so you can print them out. And, well, you forgot your homework, well, it just so happens, you can print it out right here and now. So it's great, but they're very different places. There's a big change between 2nd and 4th grade. But they're both very excited. The atmosphere at the school this year is just, there's a lot of energy, a lot of positivity, and, so we're excited. We think it's going to be a great year.
Oh, that's great.
Hope so.
Yeah.
I have a daughter also at Memorial.
She
for
just
4
started
classes.
this year, right?
She's doing 4 classes. She's transitioning from homeschool, full homeschool, to VLAX and some classes at Memorial. She wasn't quite ready to go back full time.
Oh, okay.
She wanted to try the computer classes, and so we are investigating. She's doing 3 classes on VLAX right now, and see how she likes. She loves the math. English, it's Common Core. It's not. It's all this. It slows her down. So she's not loving it. I don't know if it would be that much better in the classroom, so we're going to have to wait and see. Her grades are fine. The Virtual Learning Academy, the school district does have to accept those credits. So, but they do have a parental dashboard, I guess, probably what Memorial does or the high schools do, like the Aspen portal. But the VLAX has one, and it is, so I can get in there, I can see how she's doing on her assignments, see what her grade point average is, or her grade is at this point. She's got 92.581 or something, you know. So they do a pretty good job with that. And then she's taking Latin, health, band and orchestra at Memorial. So I got a bunch of forms home the first day. I don't know how you feel about forms, but we are in the 21st century.
Mine were a little edited. I didn't. I don't care for the fact they ask for race. I don't think it's
Right.
necessary. I don't think that it should be asked.
Do you know that they are required to fill it in if you don't?
Well, they're going to have to because
Yes.
I did not.
And then they can choose which one to pick.
They can pick anyone. We're American, and I think as soon as we
Right.
we start treating each other as Americans, and instead of breaking it down into races, and not that our heritage is different. I think we all have traditions and
Right.
heritage that we hold on to, but I think as a society, until we become Americans and we leave all the racial categories behind, we're
We're
not going to.
perpetuating a problem.
And for our kids, and when our kids say, "Hey, why do I have to answer this?" They don't see things that way.
No.
And they're not raised to see things that way, where it was more prevalent, I think, not even my
50
generation or
years
ours,
ago,
but the one
right.
before that maybe was more prevalent because they were
Yeah.
just,
Well, what
coming
does
out
this
of the
mean
space.
to the child if someone is Hispanic or someone is white
cares?
or someone is black? Like, what is the difference? What does difference does that make
But the federal
in
government
how they're
requires it.
treated? How is a black person treated compared to me, a white
Right,
person?
right.
Are they treated? Is someone treated differently than I am?
Right. So yeah, exactly, because they question why. Why are these questions here?
You can get a lot more scholarships if you say you're not white.
Yeah.
My husband's Portuguese.
I don't think there's any getting out of
Well,
it.
my daughter said, she goes, can't we figure out every nationality and just write it all down? And I looked at her, I was like, Sarah, really?
Yeah.
And she's too much like me, I think. So then I don't know about in the elementary schools, but in the high school they wanted a video release.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
They do.
Well, then they said that Manchester Public TV, sorry, and that's where we're at, will work with the school district, and the school district becomes the producer and has all rights to take the video, remix it, edit it, and use it in a future production at their whim. Do you remember a few years back when the school wanted more money? They went into all the schools, videotaped our kids, and made this nice little video that they're playing on Manchester Public TV,
Promotion.
begging for money because they need more money. Well, you're not using my daughter.
Using it against the taxpayers?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, so they were campaigning for more money. So I said, no, you're not using my daughter as propaganda.
Right.
This is going to be interesting. My daughter's in band and chorus. That means they can't videotape her in band when she's marching at the football game. They can't videotape any of the concerts. She's in band and orchestra. I'm sorry, not chorus. So they can't videotape any of the concerts and show them on TV unless they agree to my terms.
Or they will just blurry her face.
Yeah.
Right?
But how are you going to do that?
Well, they have technology to
Yeah,
blur.
so the people here at
There's
the
Sarah. We got to blurry her face.
so the people here at Manchester Public TV are going to find out what my daughter looks like, where she's sitting, and blur her face.
I don't know if they edit it or if the school's going to have to edit it.
They might send a separate
So-
release form for concerts and things like that.
Well, she can be, if they want to work with me, you can show her concert, you can show her marching, but you can't use her as propaganda.
We have children that, I don't think as video content. It just says that the pictures can be used for positive promotion of the district.
They can,
which I don't-
they consider
Well, that
positive
means-
promotion.
But we have students that do not allow their pictures to be taken for other reasons, custody
Issues, right?
So there are safety issues involved.
Right.
So some people do opt out, and we do go through pictures with if we're doing anything that we're taking pictures, we go
Good.
through, even field day, if we're posting it on, we have a closed school page, but we still go through with the teachers, and they'll say who we can take pictures of and who we can't, so we don't use them.
Yeah. It's
Careful
going to
about
be
it.
very dicey. But parents, you do not have to sign that video release. You can refuse, and then there's the internet policy. And they're going to hold my child responsible for anything they
Oh,
do on the
that's right.
internet.
I think I
You
read
know
that
what?
one.
No, you're not. How about my daughter's not going to go on the internet? My daughter's not even going to go on a computer. And it's specifically no computerized testing whatsoever. So I put that on the form.
See how that goes.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Mr. Adamakis, I think, is going to retire after this year. He's dealt with me months before with my oldest child. I think we ought to have fun. But no, I don't want my daughter on a school computer.
Holding her responsible, but penalty of
You're
whatever
right.
for breaking a rule.
So somebody goes in, uses her login and her password and puts up porn. Now my daughter's responsible. No, I don't think so.
In
I
the
don't trust
elementary
you.
school, they only use, they have a computer lab where they do reading. And then they have,
But your child's on an iPad every day.
that's a smart board that goes to the school board. It's like it's a board that's in the classroom. But they are on, because the PTA, we just bought them mini iPads for the library and also Chromebooks. And I know the librarian, and I have conversations with him, and I know what they're going to be doing, and I know what access they're going to have. And so then I feel much better about what they're using it for and what they're doing.
Elementary school is more supervised.
yes, it
High
is more
school is
supervised.
not. So I specifically am worried about what kind of data. If she types up a report or a story, and it goes into their database, and it goes into the cloud. Well, we all know how safe the cloud is. Ask a few celebrities, you know.
Well,
But-
and I think that that's the issue. When you do sign the internet policy for the schools, I think a lot of parents, I know I did before I went and I spoke with he's the librarian, he's also the media specialist. Before I went and spoke with him, I was thinking they would just be retrieving information, and I know that there are safeguards up, so they won't be retrieving anything that they shouldn't be, in the classroom. It didn't dawn on me they would be putting information on the internet, on the cloud.
They are.
Do you know what I mean? So I thought that they would be using it for research, pulling information off, and then I realized they were putting information on. So, but like I said, we had conversations, and I know where he's safeguarded and what information is being shared. Nothing personal, nothing that could track him.
Right, but
Are there reports and papers being put on the longitudinal data, the ID number? Is everything being copied onto their file?
There will be because, well, there's a state law that passed prior to Common Core being here, but in the beginning stages of Common Core, where they have to have digital portfolios. Now,
Right.
it's very vague, and if you look at the law, it says standardized tests. It has different things that they have to do. It really ramps up when it gets to middle school and high school.
right.
The elementary school is kind of like laying down the foundation for this kind of thing. And nobody seems to really know who has access to it when it's there. Our school hasn't done it because the media specialist couldn't get the answers that he wanted. So he hasn't made those copies yet. Because we discussed it last year. But the state is really pushing for that to be done. And with the standard, of course, it lays the foundation for the standardized tests. It's all set up. They have their little account that they can log into for the standardized tests and the assessment tests. That's all there. And I know that the teachers right now are struggling with the standards because they don't have a plan. They were given these standards, but they weren't given a curriculum.
Oh, yes,
and
they
they're trying
were.
to find the curriculum to go with it.
Oh, yes, but they were given curriculum guides last year that are still in place. I was on the internet this morning, speaking of the internet, this morning before I came here, and I reviewed the ELA standards. The kindergarten standards have been changed from last year. They're not the same. The curriculum guides. And if parents wants to know what your children are doing in schools, you go to the Manchester School District website, mansd.org. Click on the left-hand side of the page, you'll see academic standards. Then click in the middle of the page on resource documents. Then go over to the left, and at the top you'll see curriculum and competencies. And you click on whether you want elementary, middle, or high school. Click on that. Then it brings you to a Google Docs page, and you have to click on the grade
Goodness.
level that you want. And then you have to click English or math. And then you go and you click whether it's September, October, November, unit 1, 2, 3. So,
Goodness.
well, but that's open, transparent for the public, right?
Right.
so parents can easily find this. Anyways,
This is what the teachers have before them.
so they have the
to use in
curriculum
the
guides.
classroom.
Yes.
They have the guides. They don't have so, like for math. When we were at the open house, one of the parents asked what she's a math teacher, so she asked what program they were going to be using in math this year, and the response from the teacher was, I have to do the research and I have to do this as we go along because these guides are new. And we'll probably be using everyday math as the foundation because that's what I'm used to and that's what I have available, but we don't actually have a program.
And if you look at the guides, actually, the math is set up for everyday math. They have it to the Common Core standards, and they have the chapter in Common Core that they'll be using. They have the chapter like 1.2 for everyday math that corresponds to the standards. So, and their
Did you print
website.
this all out?
Yes, one whole cartridge of ink. There's $40.
This is more than most of the school board has done. Seriously, she did more research and groundwork on this. Most of the school board didn't even read the standards, and they just and they're pinning it on the teachers, which is just I feel so bad for the teachers. They tied their hands. I think many people who have followed this just feel completely deceived and they've lost the trust in their school board. There's those few votes, Arthur Beaudry, Deb Langton, and Ross Terrio, that did vote against these standards. But to tell the teachers they had to use Common Core and then just make it a little bit better, tweak it a little bit, it was just tying their hands and not setting them up for success. Some of the teachers have said, why couldn't we use the standards that we knew? They knew the New Hampshire state standards inside out and backwards. They knew where the deficiencies were. They knew how to make them better, but they weren't given that ability, And then we come out and see on the paper that I gave you, the letter from Virginia Berry stating that the mayor knew all along they had to take the Smarter Balance Assessment test. It was part of the deal that he and Dr. Brennan made with the state to get funding.
SB 40 something or
Yeah.
SB or something.
So they knew from the beginning. So when everybody was watching this unfold and we were saying, wait, they promised us the best standards. Now they're saying Common Core is the floor. That's not the best. So why are they, and we kept asking the questions, why? And Deb Langton asked the mayor straight out at the board meeting, can we please have an open dialogue with the parents so they can get their questions asked? And he said, no, we don't do that in Manchester. They have their 3 minutes. That's it. And she pressed him and said, I really think parents need to have these questions answered. And she said, no. Arthur Beaudry at a prior meeting asked the superintendent if we had Dr. Ingram and Dr. Stotsky look at these because parents were asking him. And she sat back and said, what is the pleasure of the board? And he looked shocked because he said, what do you mean? She wouldn't answer his question. She said, what is the pleasure of the board? And they voted not to answer his question. I've never seen a process like this that's so clear and transparent,
I
as
know
they say.
Mayor Gatzis was originally, and I have my problems with the mayor. I have issues with him. But I think originally 2 years ago when we got that waiver, I think he thought he was getting a waiver so that the ESL children wouldn't have to take tests.
Yeah, but then he found out otherwise.
I think he was hoodwinked by the education bureaucracy. I think they lied to him. I'm going to say it. I think they lied to him, and I think he bought it.
I think it was, if that's the fact,
I
I
think
think
he was
it
lied to.
became clear to him sooner than now.
Yeah, because there's so few adaptations or helps for
Well-
the special needs children when they're taking the Smarter Balance
Right.
test that,
Right.
They're going to
they're
fall.
just
And-
put in
and
a
let me
very
say-
precarious situation.
He was on Rich Gerard's show, the mayor, and he was asking, someone tell me what's so wrong with Common Core? What's so wrong with Common Core? So I sent him the link to the meeting in Wakefield with Dr. Stotsky, and I said, this is what's so wrong with Common Core. No response
I
at all.
sent specific.
No response.
I was in Wisconsin. I was listening, and I was typing under the Facebook under the picture on Facebook, and I had specific questions. Rich read them off, and the mayor says, "Well, it sounds like that person should talk to the administration." It's like, seriously, you think Dave Ryan and I are on speaking terms?
And then,
I don't think so.
At 3 meetings, you had Representative Sandblade who got up and specifically stated what was wrong with the math.
Yes.
You
Natalie-
had Anne Marie Banfield
Yep.
specifically state what was wrong
Natalie
with the math.
Branken.
specifically state.
Yes.
So they were told, and they went ahead anyway. And in the kindergarten and first grade, when you look at it, there's no change because it's developmentally inappropriate. These kids can't understand it. So how do you go up from there? You can't. So you have children in kindergarten who are coming into formal education, who are learning to express themselves, who are learning to get a grasp on the language and reading. And then they have to read in kindergarten now. It's not like when we were kids and you learned the letters. You know, you're reading and form relationship with numbers. Well, these kids now need to do word problems,
Yes.
word math problems.
Because the end of unit performance task in September for grade 1 is, and the bookcase is taller than Tom. The bookcase is shorter than Bill. Who is taller, Tom or Bill? Then it shows a picture of the bookcase.
My son
How do
actually did
you
that
know?
test last year.
Draw and explain your answer.
He did that exactly.
My first
First
grader
grade. Yeah.
cannot explain in writing because child can't write words yet. Don't you get it, people? And to draw, he hates drawing. He hates picking up his pencil.
This is an exact example that they had. And in
That's
fact,
because it's right from the curriculum
one
guides.
of the on the assessment test that they had every trimester, the first time they did it, the teachers just, for first grade, it was so beyond the first graders. They were all frustrated. It was horrible, and the teachers were frustrated. They said one teacher said it was actually cruel to give them this.
Yes, it's abusive.
And this is what these kids are facing. So I've actually given my kids notebooks and told them every time they take a test, I want them to jot down what's on that test and what day they had the test.
Right.
And we're going
And
to
do you know
review
that
it.
in high school, they're forbidden from photographing anything in the schools? So my daughter can't even photograph her health book. And she said the health book's not allowed to come home.
Well, that's when you go in and you look at the
Well,
health book.
I think I paid for it. I think I'm going to go get that health book.
Yeah.
And we as parents can do that. Our hands aren't completely tied.
Right.
No.
You'll be known as the parent who's a pain in the butt. If that's the worst thing that happens, fine, know me as the parent who's the pain in the butt. But I'm coming in there, I'm going to get that health book, and I'm going to take pictures of it because I paid for it.
Well, we have 1 minute left, so
Holy
we got
Toledo.
to wrap up here. So,
Right.
so what's the final verdict here?
Tonight there's a school board meeting. Well, so by the time you see this, the school board meeting will have already happened. I know they're going to be a little bit concerned about this Smarter Balance assessment test, but I remember I went there August 11th and I looked at the mayor saying, you adopt Common Core standards, you're going to have to take that test. He interrupted me during public comment, which is unusual. He said, no, we won't.
Right.
Right.
Oh, yes, we will.
Now we have
This is my
Virginia-
big, I told you
Virginia
so.
Berry's letter, right.
And this is going to be seen tomorrow night. The polls will still be open until 7 in most wards.
Okay.
Get out, vote for those people that are against Common Core.
Ward 9.
Get it
Vote
out of
for
the state,
Victoria.
and then we don't have to have this conversation anymore. We elect people who will get this out at the state level, and
Right.
then we can give our kids the best education
Because
that
we
we can.
cannot trust our administrators.
All right, well, we're going to see what happens. Maybe you can be on next week, too.
But vote for
continue.
Victoria, Ward 9 state rep, please.
And Deborah Olsta for District
Oh,
44.
oh, really?
State rep,
What
Ward
ward?
9 and 8.
Ward 9 and 8.
8 and 9 and
You're going
8.
to be on my ballot.
Ward
Yes.
9 is
I'll
well
vote for you.
represented.
Yes, Ward 9. Yes.
I'm in Ward 8.
All right, folks. Maybe we can do this again next week.
Okay.
Maybe we can.
We'll see. We'll see what happens next week. All right, folks. We thank you for tuning in.
If you haven't voted, please
Deborah
vote.
Olsta, Patrice Benard,
Vote.
and Victoria Sullivan. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Thank you.